Meteorologist Mark Muller. Let's take a look at the update we've got going on here for the southern Appalachians, central and southern mid-Atlantic areas. Here's what we've got. We've got this comma-shaped system that's really beginning to wind up across northern Georgia here. This will continue to push across the Carolinas, and that's where we're going to see snow on the northern fringe. Now, as the temperatures cool down, we see this Arctic front up here to the north over Pennsylvania. That's really starting to cool things down over upstate New York and the northern tier of Pennsylvania, where we're getting into the 20s down into the teens. So we've got winter storm warnings all across Virginia, heading on up to Delmarva, but it's here around Roanoke and heading down towards just northeast of Knoxville, Tennessee. This is the area where we're really going to get hammered with snowfall on the order of 6 to 10, with isolated areas up to 10 to 14 inches, and that will continue as the precipitation continues on eastward. The rest of the nation not looking at much at all. The west coast is pretty tranquil, with 60s in the desert southwest, 50s along the coast, and 30s and 40s inland for the Pacific Northwest. Pretty much across the northern tier here, we've got an Arctic front here, or up in the teens and single digits in the northern Midwest, and stretching on into northern New England. Let's take a look at the liquid precipitation amounts. Briefly, we'll touch nothing in the west. Great news for the next 5 days. Here across North Carolina and extending up the east coast, or just off the east coast, that's where we're going to see an inch of liquid equivalent, and that's with the snowfall. So let's take a look at snowfall amounts. I did not change them very much. I did bring totals down a bit over Baltimore, Washington, D.C. area, as this Arctic front is going to push southward and kind of squeeze the totals into a tighter area. But that axis of heavier snow will extend just west of Charlottesville over towards Roanoke and extending down into northern and northwestern North Carolina here. So that's what we're looking at for snowfall. So heed the winter storm warnings and lighter snows further north and west. It'll be mostly rain from just south of Raleigh over to Fayetteville and extending down towards Columbia, South Carolina, and up towards Virginia Beach. Although there is some winter weather advisories being extended down towards the Virginia Beach area for an inch or two of snow accumulation, something you're not used to or accustomed to there. The Richmond area will probably see about anywhere from 2 to 4 or 4 to 6 inches. Been upgraded to a winter storm warning. So, other than that, we don't have much else to talk about, which is good news. We do have the cold snap that's going to occur, and you can see these temperatures are going to pivot across the northern tier states, and out west your temperatures remain temperate, moderate, and normal. So across the east, that's where the big story is. We get these outbreaks of cold air, but there's something I'm going to touch on, and I was talking to you about next week, January 22nd, a possible East Coast storm. Now the models are really backing up and applying the brakes on that, because now the pattern will change towards the end of next week, 22nd, 23rd, or 24th. Actually more like the 25th. Let's put it more like 24th and 25th. There's actually, here's the map of the United States. You can see the brief warm up here that occurs, and then you see some cold air damming up here in the northeast. That's where we have cold air that pools on the east side of the Appalachians. Now you're probably looking at this stripe of warm air that's being pushed up into the Mississippi, Ohio Valley, and the western side of the Appalachians. You're probably thinking, well, there's got to be a system there. There is. Let's take a look at the low pressure systems and the way they'll be organized. This is the 25th. The low pressure, both the GFS and the Euro all have the low pressure riding up from Colorado. This is a Colorado low, classic Colorado, heading on up into the central Great Lakes, possibly either the central or the northern Great Lakes, depending on the track. That is going to have implications on precipitation type. Of course, it'll be all rain from the Ohio Valley southward, but there's going to be some very cold air left over in the northeastern states and the mid-Atlantic and New England. And this thing's going to strengthen as it heads northeast, possibly down to 981 or 979 millibars, which is an intense low, and head up the St. Lawrence Valley. Typically, this would drag heavy rain all the way up into New York, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Connecticut, Massachusetts, even the Virginias on up through Ohio. But since there's going to be such a shallow layer of cold air that can't be moved at the surface, we run the risk, and this is really far off, so I'm not going to go out on a limb on this, but I want to make certain that there could be the possibility of an ice storm in portions of the Northeast, possible Mid-Atlantic. So that is really far off, but the thing of it is the northeastern United States has not seen a good ice storm in a while. And I don't know why I just called ice storm good, but the thing is, a good ice storm meaning ice accumulation of 1/2 an inch to 3/4 of an inch or higher, basically classified as severe icing. And that could exist here in the Northeast. So we're going to continue to watch that scenario, and if it becomes more certain, I will do more coverage on it. Right now, that's just something to look at, the possible Colorado low track, but it will be. And then afterwards, let's go back to the temperature maps. Another major cool down in the offing with temperatures dipping way down. So if an ice storm scenario does happen, it's unfortunate because usually after you lose power during an ice storm, a significant severe ice storm, you get these outbreaks of cold air behind it, which just make a bad situation worse. So let's hope this model solution, because I was looking at the GFS and the Euro models. If you look at the temperatures, here's the temperatures the day that low is supposed to head up into the St. Lawrence. Look at these temperatures being held down into the teens and the 20s. Let's zoom in to the Northeast here. This is the zoom in mode. Look at these temperatures. These are temperatures 2 meters above the ground. This is kind of disturbing, but thankfully it's about 8 days off, 7 or 8 days off. So we have some time for the models to work themselves out. But I just wanted to make note of that. The East Coast storm, the models have really backed off on that for the 22nd or 23rd. So right now I'm not going to really talk much about that. Other than that, we don't have anything else to talk about in the weather. I'm meteorologist Mark Muller. Like us on Facebook at MeteoMark. Subscribe to us on YouTube. And like the video if you liked it. Post a question or comment. Here's a 4-day forecast from my hometown viewers from Binghamton to Elmira and the northern tier counties of Pennsylvania.